This podcast is supported by listeners like you. We're grateful for your tax-deductible donation at newthoughtphilly.org or the link in the episode description.
A practical prayer is a prayer that works.
These discussions between Reverend Bill Marcioni and Carol Lawrence dive into the details of how it works and how to work it.
Reverend Bill is a New Thought minister and the author of Practical Prayer for Real Results.
Your new life begins with a new thought.
Carol Lawrence is on a spiritual quest, finding the New Thought teaching after decades on the pulpit in 3 different traditional denominations.
I've got some questions.
Together, they're exploring the philosophy and activities that come together from many of the world's religions to create the practical spirituality that is New Thought.
Welcome to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Carol, here with Reverend Dr. Bill Marcioni.
We are recording this episode of the podcast on Inauguration Day 2025, and Carol was pointing out that people have some energy about that, and I am not one to get focused or wrapped around the axle on the energy of any particular event, although I can certainly see their point. But we wanted to talk about the tendency of what do we do when that happens.
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement with you. I'm in the same, lane that you're in. I don't want to get, and I'm not going to allow myself to get, crazy about what's going on outside of me, because it just goes up and down, up and down. And these kinds of things, history shows, we know how often it's going to happen. And people have been upset before. And I think where we are in our lives, it's like, let's take a pause and see where we are spiritually. How do we handle ourselves through these kinds of disappointments and so forth? How much do we allow them, these kind of things, to scare us? Because that's what a lot of people are. They're afraid. And I've begun to ask people, what are you afraid of? And, what I'm hearing, I'm not saying that there's not some legitimacy in the fear, because I would never say people's feelings don't matter. But it's, to me, I'm very simplistic about it. Listen, God is in charge here. And I'm quite sure that this did not happen behind God's back. It fully aware. And here's another thing, and then you take it from here.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Spirit has eternal vision, right? Everything is seen from the mind and eye of God. Everything is known to God. So this was not a shock or a surprise. And nothing, I think, that we do is going to throw the universe off its center or rhythm. So let's just sit back and not see what's going on. I'm not saying we should be apathetic, but I am saying we should not panic. I don't think that panic is necessary.
I completely agree with you. And the infinite is really big, and anything is possible. And because anything is possible, whatever is happening now is possible, and it's part of that divine creation. Doesn't mean we have to like it. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the balance point between our spiritual life and our walking around life as humans. Is we have an idea, an inspiration of the sort of life we want to lead, the sort of planet we want to live on, the sort of country we want to be a part of. And we set an intention for that, and then we have that experience in the world. And sometimes it doesn't go the way that we want it to. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it goes a way that we particularly don't want it to. Sometimes there are other people who believe different things who are having their way. And it might be for a little while, or it might be for a long while. And everybody has their core beliefs, and we kind of oscillate back and forth around those. When something happens that I don't like, what I want to do is notice that I don't like it, identify what I'd like to have happen instead, open to the possibilities of something different happening that's going to bring uplift and good into the situation, and pay attention enough for what is mine to do. And that's the spiritual practice that we get to do. Okay? There's peace of mind and there's harmony. And there's so many people who are upset about the way that the world is going right now. There's conflict in lots of places around the world, and there is, transition and trouble and, worry about stuff that's going on in the country. And a lot of people just want to go sit on their purple meditation pillow and go om for 4 years or the rest of their life, or do something to get away from it. And that is actually part of a good strategy, because if we are not in a place of harmony and balance and centeredness ourselves, then what we're doing is we're looking at the situation outside of us and fighting. And that when the fight becomes ego-based, I got to go out and do something, then we lose the clarity and the spiritual oomph that we have when we're clear about what it is we're doing. If we're in a place of balance and harmony and we're aware of what's going on, then we can invite the infinite to make us aware of that which is ours to do and make us aware of that which is ours to surrender. And then when the cue comes along, to get up off the pillow and do something. What are we supposed to do? God knows what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot. And you use the term purple pillow, which is a better visual than I had. It's much better. So I always say, what is it that is mine to do? And to me, that's pulling in, in a bit. That's closing in and saying that I'm not sure how I'm to respond to this. I do know that panic and being upset, and I told you I got a email or something today. These are the things that we're going to do so that we can show our resistance. Resistance to exactly what? Do you know what I mean? The things that we're afraid of happening are not going to not happen because we have resistance. It's happening at a higher level than that. And I don't mean in high places. I mean that votes and things that influence votes are what you're trying to say you want to be resistant to. Boycotting whatever, a television show or whatever, is not going to get you what you want. So you got to sit on the purple pillow, as you said, and say, what is it that is mine to do in this situation? I personally have people that look up to me for advice. What is it that I should say? Not what's coming out of my head, but what is the divine perspective on this? And I got to sit on the purple pillow, right? I got children. They need
you don't gotta. You can.
Well, I'm talking me now, okay? I'm just not willing to just give an opinion, because I take my spirituality and hopeful maturity very seriously. Because we're maturing all the time. Absolutely. If I was at the top of the, spiritual food chain, I wouldn't have to think. I would already know what to do or what to say, but I don't. So I'm using what you said, what is it that's mine to do? I have yet to hear from my 3 darling little boo-boos, those... And I know the call.
What they think is yours to do?
I want to have the proper response to them, because I know them. I know how their minds work, and I need to have the proper response for what I fully think that they're thinking. So that to me is a very big thing. It doesn't, it doesn't come with boycotting or fussing. It comes from sitting on the purple pillow.
If somebody is inspired and thinks that boycotting a particular television show is going to help, then go ahead and do that to be helpful, even if you just get it out of your system. Will it actually help? It's none of my business if it'll actually help. If you feel like it's helping, then do that, because it gives you a channel to do what you're doing. But there is the opportunity to let go of our attachment to, I got to do something. I got to keep my hands moving. I got to keep my feet moving and my mouth moving, because otherwise I'm leaving something undone. That's not the case. There is undoubtedly something to be done, but maybe not now, and maybe not what we thought. And what we have in this spiritual teaching is the ability to look a fact in the face and know something better. That doesn't mean we're putting our head in the sand and pretending the fact isn't there, that the experience or the activity going on around us isn't there. Yeah, is there sketchy stuff coming up in our government? Yeah. And how do I know that? Because they've been announcing it.
There's no secrets. That's right.
There's a bunch of secrets, but there's a bunch of things that are not particularly okay with me that are getting done in my name, supposedly on my behalf. And I will make it known that I'm not okay with them. I'm not necessarily going to do it by marching every 10 minutes for some new cause. When the appropriate moment comes along, I'm there. I'm lacing up my boots, and here we go. But it is that willingness to be present to the situation and understand what it is now, and invite that clarity so that I know that what I'm looking at is what I'm actually seeing, and guidance of what's mine to do and what's mine to let go of. Because half of a spiritual practice is surrender.
Yes.
And the other half is opening or allowing. It is possible that the next MLK is listening to this particular podcast episode. Because it's not like he knew when he was a kid, oh, this is what I'm going to be known for. But it happens. So we get to look a fact in the face, know something better, allow ourselves to be guided, and then take the steps that are ours to take.
Yeah, and I agree. You just have to relax to be able to do that. Maybe I use the term I'm very slow, and you said I'm methodical. I remember that you used that term. I just don't move quickly until I feel like I've looked at everything and what am I thinking about this that I see? Because when you move quickly on things, impulsively, your chance of slipping up is pretty high, because there are a lot of things we don't know. And it's not going, we don't have to rush. I just don't think we have to rush about anything. If we're going to turn the situation around and that is ours to do, well, we don't have to rush. We can wait until we're shown, we get the idea, and we know exactly what the next step is. And in the meantime, I'm pretty good at chilling. It doesn't mean I'm happy at all. It does not. It just means I'm very content to lay it all out on the table and look at each piece.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's take a break, and we will continue talking about how we can know when we are knowing something better.
Learn to put practical prayer to work in your life. The steps are simple to learn and let you begin to get real results to create the life of your dreams immediately. Reverend Bill Marcione's widely acclaimed book, Practical Prayer for Real Results, gives you a clear summary of the New Thought principles behind practical prayer and the series of easy-to-understand steps found in the most effective prayers from religions and spiritual practices all over the world and throughout history. Practical prayer is not a replacement for your religion or practice. It's a technique to make the work you do in consciousness even more effective. The book includes 40 prayers on various topics that you can adapt as needed and use as your own. Practical Prayer for Real Results is available in paperback, Kindle, and audiobook on Amazon or at b-the-light.com. That's b-the-light.com.
Welcome back to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Carol, here with Reverend Dr. Bill Marcione.
We were having a conversation about looking a fact in the face and knowing something better. And the balance point that we have when we see stuff that's going on that we are not particularly comfortable with, and we are not clear about what it is that we can actually do about it. And a friend of mine has an expression. He says, sphere of awareness, and he holds his arm out in the biggest spread, the biggest circle that he possibly can. And he says scope of control, and he brings it down to a little tiny thing about the size of a grapefruit in front of his heart. And we're all doing that. We are all aware of so much more than we have control over. Mm-hmm. And it is the difference between what we know and what we are able to engage with that brings about all of the frustration, or what the Buddhists call suffering, mm-hmm. which is wanting things to be different than they are.
Let me use another word. It's not a very nice word, but it's worth looking at. It's like fear. And mm-hmm. usually when we're upset about something, it's because we're afraid of some kind of loss, I think. And mm-hmm. There's a whole lot of speculation about what we're going to lose, or what's the plan for us, and we're all going to get, it's just a whole big story of fear that keeps growing. And it's probably so much more. It could be just the circle that talked to me that's, feeling this sense of fear. But here I go back to spirit again. I believe that this didn't take spirit by surprise. Therefore, to keep everything in divine order, which how everything operates, not but so much can get out of hand. And as I said that, I can think of points in history that someone might point to and say where it got out of hand. I'm just saying where I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. This is just how I think. There's a certain level of focus and commitment that I have. I'm just going to use those words. And I just don't think I'm going to get squished by a crazy administration. I just don't think it. Something is going to transpire, and I feel really, that's why I'm so cool sometimes. Because I get accused of being too cool about things. I am not unconcerned. I'm not at the level of fear just yet, because there's so much that can happen. We're making up stories about this is what's going to happen, and you just get so scared. There's no edge of the earth we can jump off of. And
that is true.
That is true. And to get out of the country and go to another one, I mean, come on, you got to find out what's required for you to go to that country. Do you really want to be there? Hold up a minute.
Right. And if things are going to be bad enough in the United States that you want to be in another country, how is that other country going to stay calm and sane? Because the stuff that goes on here reaches everywhere. And the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't panic.
Yeah, right.
That was the big thing, is don't panic. Mm-hmm. And I'm not usually a fan of instructing people what not to do. But take a breath out. Mm-hmm. Take a breath out. Look a fact in the face. Know something better. You might know exactly what it is. Although the guidance and the awareness of that what's going on now is not okay. Get with that feeling. What is it about this that's not okay? What is it that I would like to be feeling instead? Mm-hmm. And set the intention for the circumstances to happen for that feeling to come about. Because if there's something going through Congress and some regulation that's changing over here and something else that's going on in the in some program, then, as you're saying, the fear is not for somebody writing something down on a piece of paper. Your fear is about the change in experience we're going to have in life. Mm-hmm. The feeling of loss or diminution or something going away. Well, that's the part to address. If there's a fear of losing something, then what's the feeling I want to have instead? And the feeling is not losing it. I don't want to lose something. Like, that's not a good way to I want to keep something. I want to have something. I want to have this good thing because it's brought so much good into my life and the life of the people around me. I want this good to continue. Mm-hmm. To be able to identify it and cherish it and hold it up. Mm-hmm. Because that gives us the opportunity to be in part of the positive cycle. Do we know how it's going to happen? No. Is it automatically going to happen immediately? No.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen. And I guess that's the part that I'm saying that I'm standing on. We don't know. It depends on the scenario that you believe or the story that you believe. Yeah, certain people can tell the story in a way that would scare you. If you got good sense, you'd be scared. Looking like that.
There you go.
But there's other stories to be told. There's other perspectives to see. And I'm just not ready to just be scared out of my wits. I'm not, because there are a lot of people that are very happy, just really happy, in all walks of life are very happy. And I told you about a channel I flipped by and I saw certain things. People were just so happy. And I looked at that and I said, okay, but nothing is not that I don't want people to be happy. Don't get me wrong. It's has nothing to do with their political views. They were just, I said, there's nothing wrong with people being happy. And I'm just not ready to say that this is going to just like it's going to flush everybody down the proverbial toilet because we don't know. We don't know.
Yep. I'm talking to a friend who's been looking for a job recently and is very concerned that the pullback in DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs is making it more difficult for her to get a job, because it used to be helpful because they could, with her, could check a couple of boxes. And now there's not that motivation. And on the one hand, that's scary and disappointing and frustrating because, maybe I would have gotten this job if they were still paying attention to those things. And on the other side, if the only reason that they were hiring her was because they were checking boxes, then she has more of a gift to offer than just that. So, yeah, is the playing field changed? Would it be easier to have it be the way that it had been? Maybe. But with the playing field being what it is it still possible for her to be okay? And I think, I think that she's got a gift and she's willing to share it. So there's a possibility there.
I agree with you 100%, because I went to corporate America in the 80s, the very early 80s, and I had no sense that I would not be welcome there. I just, maybe I lived in a bubble, whatever.
You looked a fact in the face and knew something better.
I just figured, I dusted off my resume. I crafted it. In those days, you craft it the way you want it. And I walked fully into this big, what do you call those things that they have? Job fair. And
job fairs, yeah.
Yeah. And it never occurred to me that I couldn't stop at any table. You know what I mean? It just never dawned on me. And when I waltzed up to a table of a large corporation and, now I look back at it, they probably said, well, what kind of nerve is this? So she could walk up here and just think she could get a job. But I got it. Now, but the point is affirmative action was in place at that time. And I was fully aware that I didn't know how much that helped or would help, but I knew it wouldn't help me at all if I didn't show up. So I showed up and it worked. It helped me. I was told that it helped me, but you know what? I didn't give a flip. I really didn't.
Right.
Because I thought that once I got in here, you let me in and I will prove my genius to you. I'll prove it. And that was my attitude. And I say that all the time, because isn't that the energy that you put forth? I mean, things have to come in alignment with, and I didn't know those fancy words then. What I knew then was, I'm putting my best out here. Ain't no way this is not going to work for me. Don't let me get in, because I will slam you with my genius. That's, I mean, so your friend, she's got it.
Yeah. And when you got the job in corporate America, where you were doing a job and you were also helping them tick off, the box or two for affirmative action. If you had been, and I'm pushing your button now, if you'd been a tall white man and did the same job, would they have been happy with your job?
I don't know. Let me say this though. There was always that thing in the background that I became aware of, not just with me, but the others, that you allow, quote, these people in, but they won't be able to stay because they won't be able, we'll let you in because we can check the box, but we don't have to worry because they're not going to be able to hack it and stay. And, you should never let me know that. Because
right, because you stayed and you did a good job, and it didn't wind up. It didn't matter.
It did well.
You were there doing a good job.
But part of it has to do with with 12 years, I bounced between a couple of those corporations because you do your best. Do you know what I mean? You do your best no matter what, and if I got bounced, and they tried to bounce me on stupid stuff, but they didn't pick something good enough. They didn't pick anything good enough. You should have been a little bit smarter when you tried to bounce me. But I don't know. I don't think I'm a good example. I just think that, they're removing these programs, but they're not removing your ability to make it. Because they don't have that power. They don't have it. We set our intentions. We get all in alignment with the power guy. Yeah, I'm wooey about it. Yes, I am. But I'm also going to do my best. I might use a little wooey to motivate me a bit.
Wooey can be tremendously helpful.
Yeah, well, you got to stay there. Once you get there, you got to stay. I don't care if you use wooey to get in there, if it works. You got to do the job. It's not easy, and I'm sure your friend knows that, but this is no time to fold because the tall white guy is thinking he's running things. I didn't realize he was like 6'2", so that qualifies him as a tall white guy. Yeah.
You're talking about me?
No, I'm talking about I'm talking about. But the guy who, is truly in that description, in the biggest, tallest seat in the house. Okay, I can understand. You got every reason to believe you're running the right and everything else to run the world. But I know who created it. I know who created the whole world. So you don't have quite the power that you have convinced people that you have. Can damage be done? I also believe in collective consciousness also. So
yeah, and it's also possible that something good will come about that nobody was planning.
Absolutely. I would.
Let's figure on that. Yeah. Let's take another break, and then we're going to do a prayer. And this seems like a perfect day for a prayer.
Yeah.
Here's Reverend Bill letting you know that the Practical Prayer for Real Results class is now available on demand. That's right, you can take it at your own pace, anytime you want. All of the information is at bethelight.com. That's b-the-light.com. You know where to find that stuff. The class is 5 lessons, broken down into 18 modules, and you can take them at whatever pace is comfortable for you. As you work through the process, it starts out with the theory, goes into the practice, there are experiential activities and exercises, and at the end of the program, you will wind up with an understanding of how practical prayer works, and a practical prayer for yourself that will work to create transformation in your life. And as you know, it works for everything. Take a look at the class online at bethelight.com. There's a sample lesson so you can see how the class is going to work for you and then dive in. The great news is it's on sale now. You can register and save $20 off of the regular price. I'm looking forward to seeing you in class.
Welcome back to the Practical Prayer Podcast. I'm Carol, here with Reverend Dr. Bill Marcioni.
We have been having a discussion about things going on in the world around us that might be upsetting or distressing or unpleasant, and how we can deal with that. And the discussion has led us to the way that we can deal with that is through consciousness. And the reminder is that everything is consciousness. In the beginning, there was darkness and void, and God, that infinite consciousness, said, "Let there be light." And the creative law that creates everything made the light out of itself, out of that one divine. There was nothing but God. We just said that. Yeah. So out of God was created the light and then everything else. And it is all the continued unfolding of that one infinite power and presence showing up here. So the creative process is initiated by consciousness and by conscious intention. So when something's going on that we don't particularly like, the first thing to do is to understand and identify what it is that we don't like. And then to do the pivot to turn to what we would like instead. And this is called looking a fact in the face and knowing something better. And we get to turn that into a prayer by turning away from the stuff in the world around us. You know what's bothering you. You know what the problem or the difficulty or the challenge or the upset or the fill in the blank is that's got your attention. So with the awareness of that, go ahead, as it's safe and comfortable to do so, close your eyes. And we are letting go of the immediacy and the presence of that particular situation and circumstance so we can allow ourselves to settle into what is the upset, what is the distress, what is the fear that experience is bringing up. To open to the feeling. What is the feeling that we are having of discomfort? And then to understand if that feeling were to resolve and turn into a feeling that we want it to have, what would that feel like? What would that feel like? What is the feeling? What is the tone and timbre and flavor of the experience we want to have? Not the actual experience itself, not what other people are going to do, not the way somebody is going to act or turn or say, or what law is going to be passed or withdrawn. Once all that stuff happens, how do I feel? Open up to the new feeling that is desired. And then knowing that the purpose of this prayer is to bring the events and circumstances in life into alignment in such a way that we have that feeling. We get to let go of our attachment to things being the way that we want it to be. We can know something better without knowing what that better is. We can look that fact in the face and know something better and invite something better without having to build it ourselves, without having to specify it or organize it or struggle for it. So as we continue in the awareness that that one infinite creative power, that one that creates everything, that has created every planet, every particle, every person, everything, every moment of history is that one unfolding in its own unique and specific and particular way. That one divine power and presence is unfolding itself right now as and through and in each of us. We are that infinite goodness. We are that limitless intelligence. We are that divine potential expressed right here and right now. And so as we open ourselves to good and more good unfolding, as we identify that feeling of uplift, of satisfaction, of success, of harmony, of love and connection that we are desiring, that infinite creative power that creates everything, the one that has created us and the experiences that we're having and the experiences that we're seeking, that one power is already busy bringing the pieces together in a way that brings more of what we consider to be harmonious and uplifting and fulfilling us in that desired experience of uplift and good. This is the creative law and process, and I'm so grateful for the good that's coming about, for the life-affirming goodness that's showing up for each of us. And so with gratitude for this good, I speak this word and I release it into the same creative law that has been creating since the very beginning of time. And I know it is now creating this. And so I let it be. And so it is.
The Practical Prayer Podcast with Reverend Bill Marcioni and Carol Lawrence is a production of BeTheLight.com,
be-the-light.com,
where you can find more information about practical prayer for real results.
Our theme is by Music of Wisdom. You can learn about the spiritual community of New Thought Philadelphia with daily guided meditations,
Weekly celebrations of spirit,
and Reverend Bill's classes in practical spirituality
at newthoughtphilly.org.
This podcast is supported by listeners like you. We're grateful for your tax-deductible donation at newthoughtphilly.org or the link in the episode description.